The big meeting room was full of worried aliens. They came from all over the galaxy to talk about one problem. The humans would not talk to them. Speaker Vorthak stood at the front of the room. His green skin looked pale today. He had been the leader of the Galaxy Council for many years. He had seen many new species join their group. But never had he seen anything like this. The humans got our message 6 months ago, he said to the crowd. We sent them the same invitation we give to all new species. We told them about our great galaxy family. We showed them all the good things we could give them. We promised them peace and safety. The room was very quiet. Everyone knew what came next. They said nothing back to us. A blue alien with 4 arms raised one hand. Maybe they did not understand our message. No, Vorthak shook his big head. We know they understood. Our computers show they read everything we sent. They looked at all our files about the Council. They studied our laws and our history. Then they just stopped talking. Admiral Tejo sat in his chair on the human ship called Indomitable. The ship was far from Earth, exploring new star systems. He was a tall man with kind eyes, but today those eyes looked hard. On his desk was the golden message device from the Galaxy Council. It had been there for 6 months. He had not touched it once since reading their offer. His second officer, Captain Min-Su, walked into the room. Sir, the Council sent another message today. They want to know why we are not answering. Tejo looked out the window at the stars. What did you do with their message? I deleted it like you ordered. Good. Min-Su had worked with Tejo for many years. He knew his admiral was not a mean man. But something about the Council made Tejo very angry. Sir, can I ask why we are not talking to them? They seem friendly enough. Tejo turned around. His face was serious. Min-Su, did you read their whole offer? Not just the pretty words on top, but everything. I read some of it. Read it all tonight. Then tell me if you think they are really friendly. On the planet called New Earth, Captain Min-Su was building a new human city. The planet was in a star system that the Council said belonged to a species called the Zelithians. But the Zelithians had never even visited this planet. They just said it was theirs because the Council gave it to them long ago. Min-Su did not care what the Council said. His people needed a new home. This planet had good air, clean water, and rich soil. His colonists were happy here. They were building farms and schools and hospitals. Captain, called out his building chief, a woman named So Young. The Zelithians sent us another message. They say we have to leave their planet. Min-Su wiped sweat from his face. He had been helping build a new school. What did you tell them? Nothing. Like always. Good, keep building. So? Young nodded, but she looked worried. Captain, what if they send ships to make us leave? Min-Su looked at all the human families working in their new city. Children were playing in the streets. Old people were sitting in the sunshine. Everyone looked happy and free. Then we will deal with that when it happens, he said. Back on Earth, Director Jae-won sat in his office reading reports from all over human space. Humans were building new colonies on dozens of planets. They were mining asteroids and building space stations. They were exploring star systems that no one had ever seen before. Every day, the Galaxy Council sent new messages. Some were friendly. Some were worried. Some were angry. All of them asked the same thing. Why would humans not talk to them? Jae-won had read everything about the Galaxy Council. He knew their history. He knew how they worked. And he knew that talking to them would be the end of human freedom. His assistant, a young woman named Dr. So Young, brought him tea. Sir, the Council sent 3 more messages today. 1 from their trade department. 1 from their military. 1 from their leader himself. Delete them all. Sir, some of our people think we should at least answer them. They say it is rude to ignore them. Jae-won drank his tea slowly. So Young. Do you know what happens to species that join the Galaxy Council? They get protection and technology and trade partners. Yes, and what else? So Young thought for a moment. They have to follow Council laws. And they can never leave. Never? Never. In 3,000 years, no species has ever left the Council once they joined. They all become part of the Council family forever. They lose their freedom to choose their own path, so Young sat down. She had not thought about this before. The Council calls it integration, Jae-won continued. But it is really absorption. Once you join, you stop being your own people. You become just another part of their big machine. But sir, what if they force us to join? Jae-won smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Then we will show them something they have never seen before. A species that fights for its freedom. Meanwhile, in the council meeting room, panic was growing. Never before had a species simply ignored them. Usually, new species were either very excited to join or very scared of the council's power. But the humans seem to feel nothing at all about them. "They are acting like we do not exist," said a red alien with tentacles for arms. "How can they just ignore the greatest power in the galaxy?" "Maybe they do not understand how powerful we are," suggested another alien. "They understand," Vorthak said sadly. "They have studied us completely. They know exactly who we are and what we can do. They just do not care." The room filled with worried voices. For the first time in thousands of years, the Galaxy Council felt helpless. They had military power that could destroy worlds. They had technology that could change the laws of physics. They had wealth beyond counting, but none of that mattered if the humans would not even talk to them. "What should we do?" asked a small alien with big eyes. Vorthak looked out at all the worried faces. These aliens had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten what it felt like to be ignored. They had forgotten what it felt like when their power meant nothing. "We wait," he said finally, "and we hope they change their minds." But deep down, Vorthak knew the humans would not change their minds. He had seen the determination in their actions. They were building their own empire, planet by planet, system by system, and they were doing it all without asking anyone's permission. For the first time in his long life, Vorthak was truly afraid. Not afraid of war or destruction, but afraid of something much worse. He was afraid that the humans might be right to ignore them. 3 months had passed since the first council meeting about the humans. Things had gotten much worse. The humans were not just ignoring the council anymore. They were taking planets that belonged to other species. They were building mining stations in space that other aliens claimed. They acted like the whole galaxy was empty and waiting for them. Speaker Vorthak stood before an emergency meeting. The room was more crowded than before. Many species were angry and scared. "The humans have taken 12 more planets," Vorthak announced. "They have built 15 new space stations. They ignore all our messages telling them to stop." A tall gray alien stood up. His name was General Chromax, and he led the Draknari military. The Draknari were known as the strongest fighters in the galaxy. They had never lost a war. "Enough talking," Chromax said in his deep voice. "The humans think they can steal from us because we have been too soft. Let me take my ships and show them what happens when you ignore the council." Many aliens in the room agreed. They had tried being nice. They had tried being patient. Nothing worked. "Very well," Vorthak said sadly. "The council gives you permission to use protective force. But remember, we want to bring the humans into our family, not destroy them." "I understand," Chromax smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "I will be gentle." On the human planet called Haven, General Kyung-min was reading intelligence reports. Haven was a small world at the edge of human space. It was a good place to watch for alien ships. "Sir," said his aide, Lieutenant Dong-woo, "our spy satellites show a big alien fleet moving toward the Kepler system. At least 50 ships?" Kyung-min studied the pictures on his computer screen. The alien ships looked very advanced. They had weapons that could destroy a planet, but Kyung-min did not look worried. "Send a message to Admiral Ha-jin. Tell him company is coming." "Should we try to talk to them first, sir? Maybe warn them to stay away?" "No. We do not talk to the council. We have been very clear about that." "But sir, they might just want to talk." Kyung-min looked at his young officer. "Dongwoo, when 50 warships come to your space, they are not coming to talk. Send the message to Ha-jin. Tell him to prepare for battle." Commander Ha-jin received the message on his ship called Soul's Fury. He was the experienced military man who had fought in many battles between human nations. But this would be his first fight against aliens. "All ships, this is Ha-jin," he spoke into his communication device. "Enemy fleet approaching. Prepare for combat." His second-in-command, Captain Woo-jin, looked nervous. "Sir, should we try to contact them?" "Maybe they will listen to reason." "Captain, our orders are clear. We do not negotiate with the council. If they come in peace, they can turn around and leave. If they come for war, we will give them war." The alien fleet arrived at the edge of the Kepler system 2 days later. General Chromax sat on his command ship, looking at the human ships through his viewing screen. There were only 12 human ships. His fleet had 50 ships, each one bigger and stronger than anything the humans had. "This will be easy," he told his officers. "Open communication with the human ships." A few minutes later, Chromax was looking at the face of Commander Ha-jin. The human looked calm, almost bored. "Human commander," Chromax said in his most threatening voice, I am General Chromax of the Draknari Fleet. You are in violation of Galaxy Council space law. You will surrender your ships and leave this system immediately. Heijin stared at Chromax for a long moment. Then he did something that shocked the alien general. He smiled. No, Heijin said simply. Then he turned off the communication. Chromax could not believe what had just happened. In his 200 years of military service, no one had ever just said no to him like that. Usually, enemies either begged for mercy or made angry speeches about their cause. But this human had just said no like he was refusing an offer of lunch. Sir, said his tactical officer, the human ships are moving into attack formation. What? They dare to attack us? Chromax was so surprised he almost fell out of his chair. Do they not see how many ships we have? They see us, sir, but they are still coming. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The human ships were smaller and seemed weaker than the Draknari vessels. But they fought in a way that confused and frightened the aliens. Engineer Yunji worked frantically in the engine room of Soul's Fury as the ship shook from alien weapons fire. Above her, she could hear the sound of human weapons firing back. The humans did not use energy weapons like most species. They used old-fashioned kinetic weapons that fired solid metal projectiles at very high speed. Yunji called Captain Wu Jin over the ship's speakers. We need more power to the engines. Working on it, she shouted back, her hands flying over the controls. The human ships were faster than the aliens expected. They could change direction quickly and strike where the enemy was weakest. On the bridge, Commander Hajin watched his tactical display with satisfaction. The alien ships were big and powerful, but they fought like they had never seen real combat before. They moved in predictable patterns and communicated too much on open channels. Target their command ship, Hajin ordered. All guns fire. The Soul's Fury and 3 other human ships focused their fire on General Chromax's flagship. The alien shields flickered and failed under the concentrated attack. Chromax felt his ship shake as human projectiles punched through his hull. How is this possible? He demanded. Our shields should stop their primitive weapons. Sir, his tactical officer said with fear in his voice, their weapons are not energy-based. Our shields were not designed to stop solid projectiles moving at this speed. The battle continued for 3 hours. The human ships moved like wolves, attacking in groups and then breaking away before the aliens could respond. They used the asteroids in the system as cover, hiding behind rocks and striking when the aliens least expected it. Lieutenant Sojin piloted a small human fighter ship called Dragon's Tooth. She flew between the big alien ships, her weapons targeting their sensor arrays and communication equipment. The aliens tried to shoot her down, but their big guns could not turn fast enough to track her small, fast ship. This is Sojin, she called over the radio. I have disabled the enemy communication relay. They cannot coordinate their attacks anymore. Good work, Sojin, replied Commander Hajin. All ships press the attack. General Chromax watched in horror as his fleet fell apart around him. These humans fought with a fury and creativity that his people had forgotten. The Draknari had been the Council's military force for so long that they had forgotten how to fight an enemy that did not follow the rules. Sir, his communications officer called out, we are receiving surrender requests from 12 of our ships. They have taken heavy damage. Surrender. We do not surrender. We are the Draknari. But even as he spoke, Chromax could see that his fleet was beaten. The humans had destroyed 8 of his ships completely and damaged 30 more. His own flagship was barely holding together. Sir, his tactical officer said quietly, we must retreat. If we stay, they will destroy us all. For the first time in his life, General Chromax gave the order to retreat. His remaining ships turned and fled from the human fleet as fast as they could travel. Commander Hajin watched the alien ships disappear into hyperspace. His own fleet had lost 2 ships and taken some damage, but they had won a complete victory. Sir? Captain Wu Jin said with amazement in his voice. We just defeated the Council's best military force. Yes, Hajin replied calmly. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the aliens have been educated about human resolve. But Hajin did not send any message to the fleeing Council fleet. He did not demand surrender or offer negotiations. He simply went back to protecting the human colony, as if nothing had happened. When General Chromax limped back to Council space, he found the emergency meeting already in session. Word of the defeat had spread quickly through the galaxy. How? Speaker Vorthak asked simply. How did they defeat your fleet? Chromax, his pride broken, could barely speak. They fight like demons, he whispered. They show no fear. They do not follow any rules of civilized warfare. And worst of all, they still will not talk to us. The room fell silent. For the first time in 3,000 years, a council military force had been defeated. And the victors had not even bothered to gloat or make demands. They had just gone back to work as if the council meant nothing at all. The Galaxy Council was in chaos. News of the military defeat had spread to every corner of space. Species that had never questioned council authority were now asking difficult questions. Dr. Boram sat in her research lab, surrounded by computer screens and data files. She was the council's best expert on alien minds and behavior. For weeks she had been studying everything they knew about humans. What she found made her very afraid. They are not ignoring us, she said to herself as she read through human communication records. They are dismissing us. Boram had asked the council to give her access to all the human messages they had intercepted. The humans did not know the council was listening to their private communications. What Boram learned from these messages changed. Everything. She called an emergency. Meeting with Speaker Vorthak and the council. Leaders, I have discovered why the humans will not talk to us, she announced to the small group. And it is much worse than we thought. Explain, Vorthak said. His green skin looked even paler than before. Boram activated a large screen that showed human communication records. The humans have been watching us for decades before they made contact with any alien species. They have studied our history, our laws, and our integration process. That is good, said one council member. Then they understand the benefits of joining us. No, Boram shook her head. They understand exactly what joining means, and they want no part of it. She showed them a recorded conversation between Colonel Donghyun of Human Intelligence and Admiral Yu Jin of Human Deep Space Command. The two humans were discussing council integration procedures. Look at what happened to the Vexarians, Colonel Donghyun was saying in the recording. They joined the council 300 years ago. They used to be great explorers and inventors. Now they just follow council orders and make tourist trinkets. Same with the Quinthari, Admiral Yu Jin replied. They used to have their own government and culture. Now they are just another council member species. They do what they are told and think what they are supposed to think. Boram paused the recording. The council leaders looked uncomfortable. The humans call our integration process cultural death, Boram continued. They have studied 47 species that joined the council. In every case, the species lost its independence within 50 years. Speaker Vorthak tried to defend the council system. But those species gained peace and prosperity. They no longer fight wars or struggle for resources. The humans do not want that kind of peace, Boram replied. She showed them another recording, this one between Captain Sung-ho and his crew as they observed a council world. Look at them, Captain Sung-ho was saying as his ship watched a peaceful alien city. They all dress the same. They all think the same. They all follow the same rules. Where is their creativity? Where is their passion? They are like robots pretending to be alive. But they seem happy, one of his crew members had said. Happy like pets are happy, Sung-ho replied. Well-fed and safe, but not truly free. Boram turned off the recording. The humans have made a choice. They would rather face danger and uncertainty than give up their freedom to choose their own path. One council member, an old blue alien, spoke up. But surely they understand that resistance is impossible. No species can survive alone in the galaxy. That brings me to the most disturbing discovery, Boram said. She pulled up new files. The humans are not planning to survive alone. They are planning to change the entire galaxy. She showed them messages from Human Diplomatic Corps, led by Director Young Woo. The humans were secretly contacting other species, not to invite them to join humanity, but to share information about the Council's true nature. They are telling younger species about integration history, Boram explained. They are showing them what happens to independent cultures under Council rule. And some species are starting to listen. The recording showed a message from human diplomat Tae Young to a species called the Korathi. Your people have been part of the Council for only 20 years, Tae Young was saying. You still remember what it was like to make your own choices. Is that life really gone forever? Vorthak felt sick. Are you saying the humans are trying to start a rebellion? Not exactly, Boram replied. They are not asking anyone to fight. They are just asking them to think. To remember what they lost when they joined the Council, and for many species that is enough. She showed them reports from Council intelligence services. On dozens of Council worlds, younger aliens were asking questions about their history. They wanted to know what their people were like before integration. They wanted to know if leaving the Council was possible. The humans have done something we never thought possible, Boram said. They have made other species question whether Council membership is really a good thing. Back in human space, Captain Sang-Mian was meeting with representatives from 3 different alien species. These were not Council members, but independent species that lived in the far reaches of the galaxy. They had heard about humanity's refusal to join the Council, and they wanted to know more. "We understand the Council has great power," said the representative from the Tellar Union. "How can you hope to resist them?" "We do not resist them," Sang-Min explained. "We ignore them." "There is a difference, but what if they send a larger fleet?" asked the Kalari delegate. "What if they decide to force you to join?" Sang-Min smiled. "Then they will learn that forcing people to be free is impossible. You can make someone obey you, but you cannot make them truly accept you, and we humans are very good at not accepting things we do not like." Dr. Mi Young, who was also at the meeting, added, "We are not asking you to fight the Council. We are not asking you to join us. We are just showing you that there are other ways to live. You can choose your own path, make your own mistakes, and find your own happiness." The alien delegates looked at each other. They had never heard anyone talk like this before. In their experience, big powers always wanted smaller powers to join them or serve them, but the humans seemed to want nothing except to be left alone. "What do you want from us?" the Tellar representative asked. "Nothing," Sang-Min replied. "If you want to trade with us, we will trade. If you want to share knowledge, we will share. If you want to be friends, we will be friends. But if you want to be left alone, that is fine too." This conversation was being secretly recorded by Council spies. When Boram saw it, she knew the situation was hopeless. "They are not trying to build an empire," she told the Council leaders. "They are trying to build something much more dangerous. They are trying to build an example." "An example of what?" Vorthak asked. "An example that independence is possible. That species can survive and thrive without Council protection. That freedom is worth more than safety." The meeting room was very quiet. The Council had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years by convincing everyone that they needed Council protection to survive. But now the humans were proving that this was not true. "What do we do?" asked one Council member. Boram looked at all the worried faces around the table. These aliens had built their entire civilization on the idea that they were necessary, that smaller species needed their guidance and protection. The humans were destroying that idea just by existing. "I do not know," she admitted. "Every option we have makes the situation worse. If we attack them, we prove that the Council uses force to get its way. If we leave them alone, we prove that Council membership is not necessary. If we try to negotiate, we give legitimacy to their position. So we do nothing?" Vorthak asked. "We hope," Boram replied. "We hope that other species do not follow their example. We hope that the galaxy does not remember what freedom feels like." But even as she said it, Boram knew it was too late. In the outer systems, young aliens were already talking about the humans who said no to the greatest power in the galaxy, and survived. Some were even starting to say no themselves. The age of unquestioned Council authority was ending, and it was ending not with a war or a revolution, but with a simple word that echoed across the stars. No. The Council's worst fears came true 6 months later. 3 species declared their independence on the same day. The Korathi, the Nathari, and the Voss all announced they were leaving the Council and would govern themselves. Speaker Vorthak stood before the largest emergency meeting in Council history. Representatives from over 800 species filled the great chamber. Many looked angry. Others looked scared. A few looked thoughtful, and those were the ones that worried Vorthak the most. "This rebellion must be stopped," declared General Chromax. His pride was still hurt from losing to the humans. "We cannot allow these species to leave. If we do, others will follow." "The humans have poisoned their minds," agreed another military leader. "We must show the galaxy what happens when species reject Council protection." Many voices in the room agreed, but Speaker Vorthak noticed that many others stayed silent. Those silent voices worried him more than the angry ones. "Very well," Vorthak announced. "The Council authorizes full military action against all rebel species. We will bring them back into the Council family by force if necessary. What followed was the largest military operation in galactic history. Council fleets moved against the rebel worlds and the expanding human colonies. But this time, the humans were ready. Fleet Admiral Chan Wu coordinated Earth's defense from a hidden base on the moon. His command center was deep underground, protected by layers of rock and metal. Around him, dozens of officers worked at computer terminals, tracking the movement of Council fleets across the galaxy. "Admiral," reported Captain Inho, "Council forces are moving against our colonies in 15 systems. They have over 300 ships. And our forces?" Chan Wu asked calmly. "We have 47 ships ready for combat, sir." The number should have meant certain defeat for the humans, but Chan Wu smiled. "Good. Send the signal to all colonies. Begin Operation Freebird." Across human space, something unprecedented happened. Civilian ships began converting into military vessels. Mining ships attached weapons to their hulls. Transport vessels loaded up with fighters. Even passenger ships joined the defense fleet. Engineer Gite worked frantically in an asteroid mining station that was rapidly becoming a fortress. "Get those missile launchers mounted on Platform 7, he shouted to his crew. "The Council fleet will be here in 6 hours. "Sir," called out one of his workers, "are you sure civilian miners can fight trained military?" Gite stopped what he was doing and looked at the young man. "Son, those Council species have been living in peace for so long they have forgotten what real fighting looks like. We humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. War is in our blood." Dr. Narration had spent months preparing for this moment. She had designed a new type of weapon that used human industrial technology. Her factories, built to process asteroid ore, had been secretly producing military equipment. "The Council thinks our technology is primitive," she explained to her assistant, Lieutenant Haye Jin. "They are right. Our weapons are simple, but simple weapons built in huge numbers can defeat complex weapons built in small numbers." The first battle came at the human colony of New Hope. General Hyson led the ground defense while her fleet fought in space above. The Council brought their best troops, aliens who had conquered dozens of worlds, but they had never fought humans before. Lieutenant Wu Jin led a small group of human soldiers against a much larger alien force. The aliens had better weapons and better armor, but they fought like they were afraid to take casualties. "They fight like they are trying not to lose," Wu Jin observed, as he watched the alien troops through his binoculars. "We fight like we are trying to win." The human tactics confused the Council forces. Humans would attack impossible positions and somehow win. They would sacrifice themselves to save their friends. They would fight even when victory seemed impossible. Pilot Su Jin flew her fighter ship directly into a formation of Council bombers. Her tiny ship could not survive the encounter, but she managed to destroy 3 enemy bombers before her ship exploded. Her sacrifice saved the colony below. "Why do they do that?" asked a confused Council pilot. "Why do they throw their lives away?" His commander had no answer. The Council species had forgotten what it meant to fight for something more important than your own life. The war spread across the galaxy. But something strange happened. Instead of the Council forces winning easy victories, they found themselves fighting harder battles than anyone expected. The rebel species that had left the Council were also fighting. The Karathi used guerrilla tactics, hiding in asteroid fields and striking Council supply lines. The Nathari had converted their entire merchant fleet into warships. The Voss, who had been farmers for generations, became fierce fighters defending their worlds. But most surprising of all, some species that were still in the Council began to help the rebels secretly. They provided intelligence about Council troop movements. They sabotaged Council supply depots. They spread messages encouraging other species to resist. Captain Jinho intercepted one of these messages from a Council world. "To our brothers fighting for freedom," the message said, "we cannot join you openly, but we support you in our hearts. You fight for all of us." "Sir," his communication officer asked, "should we respond to these messages?" "No," Jinho replied. "We do not need to encourage rebellion. The Council is doing that for us." He was right. Every day the war continued. More Council species began to question their loyalty. They saw their own military forces struggling against much smaller rebel fleets. They heard stories of human ships fighting against impossible odds and winning. Most importantly, they realized that the Council was not as all-powerful as they had been told. Back on Earth, Director Young-woo watched the war reports with satisfaction. The Council is making our point for us, he told his staff. Every battle they fight shows other species that the Council can be resisted. But sir, asked his aide, we are losing ships and people. Is the cost worth it? Young-woo looked out the window at the blue sky of Earth. Every human who dies in this war dies free. Every ship we lose is a ship that chose its own fate. That is worth any price. The turning point came when the Council tried to blockade Earth itself. They brought their largest fleet, over 500 ships, to humanity's home system. They planned to force Earth to surrender by cutting off all trade and communication. But they had not counted on the rest of humanity's response. Ships came from every human colony to defend Earth. Mining vessels, exploration ships, cargo haulers, and passenger transports all joined the defense fleet. They were not military ships, but they were crewed by humans who would not accept defeat. Admiral Hyun-woo commanded the defense from his flagship, the Independent Dawn. As he watched the massive Council fleet approach, he felt proud of his species. They think they can intimidate us with numbers, he told his crew. They do not understand that humans become more dangerous when cornered, not less. The Battle of Earth lasted for 3 days. The Council fleet was larger and had better technology, but the human fleet fought with a desperation and creativity that the Council could not match. When it was over, the Council fleet retreated. They had not been destroyed, but they had failed to take Earth. And that failure was seen by species across the galaxy. If the mighty Council could not defeat the humans at their own home world, then maybe the Council was not so mighty after all. Speaker Vorthak sat in his empty office after the defeat. His communication system was full of messages from Council worlds. Some were asking for military protection. Others were demanding explanations. A few were asking if they could negotiate with the rebels. Dr. Boram entered his office without being announced. She looked tired and worried. The Kelthani have declared independence, she reported. So have the Morthari and the Yevon coalition. How many is that now? Vorthak asked. 17 species have left the Council. 23 more have declared neutrality, and 47 are demanding reforms to the integration process. Vorthak buried his face in his hands. In less than 2 years, humanity had destroyed a system that had lasted for 3,000 years. What do the humans want? He asked. Surely they must want something. That is the problem, Boram replied. They want nothing from us. They just want us to leave them alone, and every day we continue this war, we prove to the galaxy that we cannot even do that. Outside in the great chamber where the Council used to meet, most of the seats were empty. The representatives who remained looked scared and uncertain. They had spent their whole lives believing that the Council was necessary for galactic peace and order. Now they were learning that some things were more important than peace and order. Things like freedom, and the right to choose your own destiny and the courage to say no to power. The humans had taught the galaxy a lesson that could never be unlearned, and once learned, it could never be taken back. 2 years after the first human colony ship had ignored a Council territorial claim, the galaxy was completely different. The Great Council Chamber, once filled with representatives from hundreds of species, now held only a few dozen delegates. Many seats sat empty, their former occupants having declared independence or neutrality. Ambassador Tae-young walked slowly through the abandoned sections of the Council station. Her footsteps echoed in the empty hallways where thousands of diplomats once worked. She was the first human to ever set foot in this place, but she was not here as a supplicant. She was here as an equal. Speaker Vorthak waited for her in his private office. The once mighty leader of the galaxy looked old and tired. His green skin had lost its healthy color, and his eyes showed the weight of watching his life's work crumble. Ambassador Tae-young, he said formally, thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Speaker Vorthak, she replied with politeness but no warmth. I am here because my government believes it is time to discuss coexistence. Coexistence? Vorthak seemed surprised. I had hoped we might discuss humanity joining the Council. Surely after all this conflict you can see the benefits of galactic unity. Tae-young sat down across from him. Speaker, I think you misunderstand our position. We are not here to discuss surrender or integration. We are here to discuss how our two civilizations can exist in the same galaxy without destroying each other. But the Council has maintained peace for 3,000 years. The Council has maintained control. For 3,000 years, Tae-young corrected. Peace and control are not the same thing. Outside the council station, Captain Sang-min commanded a small fleet of ships from the New Free Worlds Alliance. This was not a human organization, but a loose confederation of species that had left the council to govern themselves. Some were species that humans had contacted. Others had made the choice entirely on their own. Captain, reported his tactical officer, we are receiving messages from 12 more council worlds. They want to know how to begin the independence process. Sang-min nodded. It was the same story every day. Council species, especially the younger ones, were asking how they could leave the council system. Many had been members for only a few decades and still remembered what freedom felt like. Send them the standard information package, Sang-min ordered. But remind them that independence is not easy. They will have to make their own decisions and live with the consequences. That was the key difference between the council system and the human way. The council promised to solve all problems for member species. Humans offered only the chance to solve problems for themselves. Dr. Mi-young was working in her laboratory on the research station called New Horizon. She was part of a joint scientific project that included humans, Karathi, Nathari, and 6 other independent species. They were working together not because any government ordered them to, but because they chose to. Dr. Mi-young called her research partner, a Karathi scientist named Veltar. The quantum resonance experiment is ready for testing. Excellent, Mi-young replied. Has everyone agreed to share the results? Yes. All data will be available to every species in the Alliance and to any council species that wants it. This was another difference. The council controlled the flow of technology and information between species. The Free Worlds Alliance shared everything freely. Council species were beginning to notice how much faster science progressed when researchers could work together, without bureaucratic restrictions. Back in the council meeting, Ambassador Tae-young was explaining humanity's terms for coexistence. We want no council ships in systems we have claimed, she said. We want no council interference in our trade with other species. And we want council recognition that independence is a valid choice for any species. But if we agree to those terms, Vorthak protested, more species will leave the council. That is their choice to make, Tae-young replied. Just as it was our choice to refuse council membership. You do not understand, Vorthak said desperately. The council system has brought peace and prosperity to the galaxy. Without central authority, there will be chaos and war. Tae-young looked at the tired alien leader with something approaching pity. Speaker, there is already war. Your war against independence, your war against choice, your war against freedom. The only question is whether you will continue fighting a war you cannot win. She stood up to leave. My government offers you a simple deal. Leave us alone and we will leave you alone. Let species choose their own path and we will not encourage them to choose ours. Continue trying to force obedience, and you will discover just how many species have been waiting for an example of successful resistance. As Tae-young left the council station, she sent a message to Earth. The council will never voluntarily give up control, she reported to Director Jung-woo. But they are too weak to enforce it anymore. Jung-woo received the message in his office on Earth. Through his window, he could see the construction of new ships in Earth's orbital shipyards. These were not warships but exploration vessels and colony ships. Humanity was growing not through conquest, but through the simple act of people choosing to build new lives among the stars. Sir, his aide reported, we have received requests for immigration from 47 different species. They want to live in human space where they can govern themselves. Approve them all, Jung-woo said. Freedom is not just for humans. This immigration was causing problems for the council. Their best scientists, artists, and thinkers were leaving to join the Free Worlds Alliance. Young aliens who had talent and ambition did not want to spend their lives following council regulations. Fleet Admiral Hunwoo stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the construction of a new space station at the edge of human space. The station was being built by workers from 12 different species, all of them choosing to work together on their own terms. Admiral, his communications officer, announced, "We are receiving a surrender offer from the council military." Hyunwoo was surprised. Surrender? We are not at war anymore. They want to negotiate an end to hostilities, sir. Tell them we stopped fighting the moment they stopped attacking us, Hyunwoo replied. If they want peace, all they have to do is leave us alone. But the Council could not leave them alone because the example of human independence was destroying their authority throughout the galaxy. Every day, more species declared independence. Others demanded internal reforms. A few even asked to join the Free Worlds Alliance as equal partners. In the Great Council chamber, Speaker Vorthak faced an almost empty room. Only the core species remained, the oldest and most powerful members who had founded the Council 3,000 years ago. They were angry and afraid. "We must do something," demanded the Archon of the Zenthari. "If this continues, the Council will cease to exist. What can we do?" Vorthak asked. "Our military has failed. Our diplomatic efforts have been ignored. Our threats have been dismissed. We could destroy Earth," suggested the High Commander of the Vorthan Empire. "Without their homeworld, the humans would have to surrender and prove to every species in the galaxy that the Council destroys worlds when it cannot control them." Vorthak shook his head. "That would end us faster than anything the humans have done." The truth was that the Council had been defeated not by human weapons, but by human ideas. The idea that freedom was worth more than safety. The idea that species could govern themselves without central authority. The idea that saying no to power was possible. Dr. Boram entered the chamber with her final report on the human situation. "The pattern is spreading faster than we anticipated," she announced. 63 species have now left the Council. Over 100 more have declared neutrality. And the Free Worlds Alliance is accepting new members every month. "What do they offer that we do not?" asked the Zenthari Archon. "Choice," Boram replied simply. "They offer species the choice to succeed or fail on their own terms, to make their own mistakes and find their own solutions, to be responsible for their own destiny." "But that is chaos," protested the Vorthan High Commander. "Yes," Boram agreed, "and many species prefer chaos to control." As the meeting continued, messengers brought news from across the galaxy. Former Council worlds were thriving under self-government. Species that had been dependent on Council support for centuries were learning to stand on their own. Trade and communication continued between worlds, but now it was voluntary rather than mandated. The galaxy was becoming what humans had always believed it could be, a place where different species worked together by choice rather than force. Captain Minsu, who had built the first human colony in defiance of Council territorial claims, now commanded a fleet of exploration ships. His mission was not conquest but discovery. He was mapping new star systems and making contact with species that had never known Council rule. "Captain," his science officer reported, "we have found another inhabited system. The species appears to be pre-spaceflight, but they have achieved global communication." "Standard protocol," Minsu ordered. "Observe and learn. No contact until they develop space travel on their own." This was the human way. Unlike the Council, which contacted and absorbed new species as quickly as possible, humans believed that species should be allowed to develop naturally.